My mom was a single parent. My dad died when I was 2 years old, not even 2 years old. So then my mom just raised me and my two brothers at the time. My mother was a trapper, and years later, after when my father died, or even, no, not even, I had two more brothers after that, younger than me, and one that was 5 years younger than me. That's the one next to me. And then I had a brother that was 11 years younger than me. That's my youngest brother, but both of them are deceased. My oldest brother died in a sanatorium back in 1947, and he somehow contacted with TB. And before the school was over in 46, while they put him in the hospital in sanatorium, close to where I live now, that same area. Prior to that, he was in a boarding school. This one here in Fort William, St. Joe's, yeah, on Franklin Street, yeah. Well, we used to go there and visit my brother when he was there. He must have been there more than 2 years, because I remember one time when he come home at Christmas time, they would let them come home at Christmas time, and he was all scabby all over his body. And my granny had to take care of him. By the time he went back to school, I guess they were home for about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, and he was all better because she took care of it. And she made some kind of salve or something and put it all over his body, and wrapped him up with a white cloth. And that's how he survived with that. I remember this lady, we had been there the day before to visit him, we stayed at the mission here. They used to give us a house, I guess, for a month or whatever we stayed. And we used to go there every day. And nobody ever came to meet us until that day. And and for the longest time, every time I thought about my brother, I could see this woman coming towards us, and she had a turquoise suit to come and tell us about Jimmy had passed away. And all I remember was everybody crying. My grandmother, my mom, and my grandpa, and myself. Well, I didn't really cry, but it was sad I felt sad seeing them cry like that. They were really, really, really crying hard. Yeah. I often wonder, why didn't they, and the poor guy died by himself, and I guess with just the nurses, but why didn't they tell my mom and my grandparents that he was sick and not wait until he died? They usually know when somebody's going to die, right? And they didn't say nothing the day before we were there. They didn't say nothing. And they didn't even try and contact us either at the mission. They waited until we went there by bus in the afternoon. Well, I went to the rail school car. I'm sure it was in 44 and 45. And the school car used to come about every 3 months, but he would only be there for 5 days. Like, he'd come on a Monday, and he'd go back on a Friday wherever. I guess he went up and down the railroad. Yeah. What did it look like? It had seats, 3 rows of seats like this, and about maybe 4 rows this way. And we had like desks. Yeah, just a one teacher. Yeah, he lived in the back of the school car. That's where he lived, I guess. I mean, we never did go in there, but I don't know how many stops he had, because I was young then. You know, I was only about maybe 5 or 6 years old then. Yeah. And then, because I'm a left-hander, I'm left-handed. So the guy kind of break me from writing with my right hand. So he forced me to write with my right hand. So he would hit me with a ruler. I bet he hits me about 30 times a day with that thing, you know, because as soon as he turned around, well, I put my pencil in my left hand, because that's what I was born with. And you know, and I began to really feel, you know, I was the only left-hander in that school out of all the kids that were going there. And when he would hit me with that, you know, he'd no sooner turn around, he'd pitch again, yeah. Even one time he had my hand bleeding on top, like, because one end of that ruler is got a sharp thing on it. And, you know, and my older brother, Jimmy, well, he was sitting in the back, and I would be sitting there crying, sobbing my heart out. And he looked so sad. I guess he couldn't help me. He wanted to help me, but he couldn't. He probably would have got the same thing too, you know. Yeah. That was a horrible experience for me. And so after 3 years, the guy didn't come back anymore. I guess from what I read now, I guess it burnt down. The car burnt down, so they didn't replace the car, right? So the other kids went to the boarding school then. They went to boarding school, and I begged my grandmother, because she was the boss in our family. And I told Grandma, I said, I don't want to go to school. I don't want to. I said, please don't let me go. Because I said, I'll run in the bush and hide. I told her. So she said, don't worry, Quezes, but she tells me that in our language, don't worry about it. So she didn't send me, you know. I'm glad she didn't, because, I mean, it did bother me, though, in a lot of ways. Like, a lot of people had asked me, you know, when I started to work, because they knew I didn't have no education. And this one guy worked with in student home in Port Arthur. He wanted me, he was a teacher by trade. So he said, Jean, she says, I can teach you. Oh boy, I just had goose pimples all over my body, just mentioning school. And I thought to myself, no way. I said, no way, nobody's, I told him, no, I don't want to be taught no school. I said, I don't want no part of it. But I didn't explain to him why. And he says, well, I won't be hard on you, but he said, you know, I'll just give you a little bit of lessons, like, you know, and take your time. He said, I'll just correct your work once in a while. I said, no. I said, I don't want it. So And then the other time, somebody told me that I should go upgrade in college. This is a subject I didn't want to hear. But I guess that's why, because, I didn't want to expose myself again to people to know that I was stupid. That's the way I felt. Yeah. As soon as they find out I, can't read or can't write, I said they're gonna think the same thing as that old teacher I had. Eh? Why do I feel like this? Eh? And I always pointed back to going to that school car. I had 3 children. My oldest son, I had a son and 2 daughters. Donna's the middle one, and my son was the oldest, and my youngest died about 32 years ago. I guess it'll be 33 years this coming November. She committed suicide back in Regina. And that was kind of hard to deal with, It took me about 7 years to not really heal, but, that I could talk about it more rather than, hiding it, They wouldn't let me go to counseling until 6 months after. And I went to just a regular counselor, like a grief counselor. Yeah. I went to him about, I would say about 3 months, but it was getting a little bit too hard. Like, when I catch my feelings, and most of the time, all I did was cry, who helped me a lot was my coworkers. I worked in a crisis home at that time, and so I was able to talk to them. They listened to me. And I lost my son too 4 years ago. He died of cancer. It wasn't as hard as with my daughter, because he had cancer. So, he knew that he was, he was going to pass and stuff like that. But it was still hard, though, to lose another one. I had a partner, my kid's dad, but he never supported us, so. And then all of a sudden, then when I came to live with my mom and my 2 brothers in Wraith, 60 miles out of here. And all of a sudden I get this letter from the not welfare. I guess, or I don't even know how that went, but anyway, I had to go to court. I had to go to court and get the support from my kid's dad. So, and then I was scared to lose the other ones if I didn't go. So I went, and what does the judge do? He takes the youngest ones and he's leaving me my son and her. And so I was told, you better put that kid on the train tomorrow when it goes by in Wraith, or the police will come and pick you up if you don't. So I had to put her on the train. And she was only 2 years old. And that was my baby. So I went to see my kid after 3 months, because I missed her. I missed my baby. So then I was there a week, and she was so insecure. In that 3 months, she was not the same person and the same kid that, left me. They took her away at 3 months. It was the same kid anymore. She would just hang on to me in my neck, and at nighttime, she wouldn't sleep alone. So I said, well, Mommy's not going to leave you, and I'm going to be here for you. I honestly think that's why, I don't know what happened to her. Maybe something happened to her when, when she was away. Maybe somebody abused her. I don't know. But she was very insecure. And then as soon as she got older, then she started getting into drugs and alcohol. She did have 2 kids. I mean, she did get with the father of her kids and stuff like that, but they didn't stay together. So when then she was getting in really heavy with this stuff, and then I blame myself too, And although we tried helping her, and like she was on drugs and drinking and stuff like that, and she had 2 kids. Well, one of my grandsons says nobody ever outlives their kids, not 2 of them anyway. Or maybe he meant nobody should outlive their kids. And you think of all that, and then I guess the time that when I dealt with my brother's death is when they had that, when Stephen Harper gave his apology on TV that time. And I was working at Wekota Lodge by that time, So I told my boss, I said, I'm not coming to work tomorrow. I said, I'm going to watch that. I'm going to watch that thing, that apology. So I said, get somebody else to replace me. So he said, okay. So that's what I did. I stayed home and glued to the TV and watching it. And that's when I really dealt with that. I guess that's the first time I really dealt with his death. I guess a little bit of healing had taken place then, I talk about it more now. I never talk to anybody about all this, all these things that happened to me. Then I started talking to my daughter after. I kind of felt better about myself after I started talking, I mean, I can talk to some friends now too, without being ashamed of what happened to me and thinking that I was stupid. That's because of what happened to me. Stuff like that, and I talk about it, and I feel a lot better about myself.